Language demands, functions, and forms associated with each standard for students 1 and 2. Starting with Mary. For her listening, I'm going to focus on some basic vocabulary, simple instructions, and short conversations to get her going. For speaking, we're going to engage in basic conversations where she's able to express her needs and use some gestures for communication as well. For the reading, I'm going to introduce some high-frequency words in basic texts and provide support for comprehension. For the writing, I'm going to practice forming short, simple, and basic reading responses with some vocabulary support as well. The way I'm going to try to do that is by using some flashcards with basic English phrases and expressions, some audio recording of simple conversations and instructions, also visual aids, some pictures, some drawings to support her understanding of text, vocabulary, and things like that. Other things that I could use are also whiteboards, markers, piece of paper, and a little notebook for her. The way I'm trying to assess her on that would be the informal assessment would be through observation of Mary's participation, listening and speaking during activities, in the classroom and small group. My formative assessment of Mary's comprehension will be through her responses to questions and prompts during the lesson, how much she actually participates and she adds to it. And then a feedback provided through the lesson to guide Mary's progress, to kind of give her a heads up, hey, you did a good job, or here are the things that you did really good, here are the things that we can work on. Now, moving on to John. For the listening, I'm going to provide some instructions, engage in basic conversations, right? And offer him more opportunities to have some comprehension check. Ask him if he understood the text, if there's something he's missing out. Maybe sometimes asking him to retell me the story just to see if he really got it. For the speaking part, I'm going to encourage him to communicate in everyday situation, work on pronunciation, and also address some grammatical errors. For his reading, I'm going to support decoding skills, introduce simple texts, and foster reading comprehension strategies as well. For his writing, I'm going to guide in forming sentences and simple paragraphs, focusing on basic writing conventions and structures. For John, what I'm thinking as far as the lesson would be to start with some simple English reading passages or stories. Work on some writing some prompts on worksheets, using a whiteboard, a marker, have some visual aids as well to check his understanding and comprehension of the text, work on vocabulary. Other than that, I also think John is very capable of writing some simple sentences, maybe like answering some couple questions about what happened in the text or in this short story, so that he can give me a feedback, so I can check how much he's understanding. For assessment and formal assessment, it will be through also observation of John's reading and writing during the lesson. I'm gonna just sit and listen to his reading. I'll also do that with Mary as well. I think that's a really good way to work on pronunciation, comprehension, where I can check with the student, hey, how you doing here? And also notice which words or which things are the most difficult for them. Formative assessment of John's comprehension and writing skills through his responses and questions to prompts. How he replies to me, like does he even understand the question or not? Does he understand the question, but he's not able to elaborate his answer? So we're going to see all that through observation too. And then give him some feedback also about how he's doing, right? I think it's really important to let students know how they're doing. Even if they're not doing that well, also always bring something positive first. And then you can point out something that they need to keep working on and also provide them with some tools. So let's say he's really having a hard time with tricky words. Maybe we can focus on that a little bit more. Maybe he understands the meaning of things, but he doesn't know where to use these things in a sentence or the structure of a sentence. So I think listening to students to read, it's very helpful to understand where their weaknesses are. helping with prompts, visual aids, and sometimes even reading out loud for the students too. Sometimes I like to read the short passage first. That way, if there's one or two words they're not familiar with, or they struggle, to pronounce it, I can help them with it, and then they go in and read it again, and then maybe for the third time we read it together. So very repetitive, but again, that would help with comprehension, to understand what's going on in the story, to explore more the vocabulary as well. And for both students, I think it's really important sometimes to focus on the basic conversation, just to build up their independence. When they're starting school, with Mary, sorry, I see that she needs more of that basic conversation, when John is more able to interact with peers and things like that. But it's also always good to check with your students even before, few minutes before you start your lesson. Check in with them, just change a few words, exchange a few words and see how they're doing. And then, get right into it.